Hello guys, welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday. Today I'm going to talk about the e-commerce software, and we're going to talk about some of the softwares I've worked a lot with the last 8 years. And I'm going to try to figure out if you should choose one of the systems or another one. And we talk about pricing, we talk about pros and cons. And I have written some of those up here. And as you can see, I've chosen 4 different platforms up here. And then I have written custom build down here. The reason I actually written custom build down here is because when I started with e-commerce 8 years ago, many of the platforms were actually built like custom built, like own developers. It was like built from scratch, maybe down in the basement. Then WooCommerce came, then I started working with Magento and PrestaShop, and then I jumped over to Shopify. So I will actually delete this one. I still recommend, like, if you really want to build something from scratch, consider that you think long term. So if your developer quits or that you have to change the platform, then you have some kind of like sustainable strategy for that, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to change to another platform. What I actually want to write about or talk about today is like the 2 platforms I've worked with a lot with. I'll just change the color. You can say like we have Shopify here, you have Magento here. Those are the platforms I worked a lot with. So most of these platforms work with plugins. So you have like the core basics, you have like the engine, as I call it, in Shopify Magento, and then you just put in plugins you build on top of your house, if you say like that. So let's say you have like a house here. This is more like a tent, I know, but yeah, let's assume it's a house. And then you have the engine down here, which is actually what you buy when you buy a Shopify or Magento solution. It works pretty fine. And the first thing you do is that you want to build something that your customers can see. So yeah, you want, maybe you hire a art director. I would recommend you to go into themeforest.com, where you can buy. It's like a part of Invato marketplace where you can buy everything in terms of like plugins. You can buy video files, audio files, and stuff like that. You can go into themeforest.com and buy a template for your new e-commerce store. So you can basically just go onto the website and search for whatever industry you're in, and then you can just install that theme on your platform. Then you have a ready-to-go solution. And I would recommend you also to pick one of the themes with most installs, so you are sure that it's always updated and it never crashes. Of course, it can crash, but yeah, you are better prepared if you download a theme with a lot of downloads. So when you install that, next things comes is that you want a lot of plugins, and I know this is just fancy words. You want a lot of plugins because we love plugins when we talk about e-commerce. You want all the fancy stuff. You want it to build with MailChimp. You want it to build in the Facebook dynamic ads and stuff like that. You have a lot of things down here you want to build in marketing, stuff like that. Then suddenly you try to, on Magento, I'm talking about Magento right now. It could be Shopify as well, but Magento is really, really known for this. That you think Shopify is expensive to pay each month. But the problem with Magento is like you have to find a developer who can actually code what you want. In my previous company where I worked for 2 years, we had a really, really great guy and really, really talented guy into Magento developing. And I was so lucky when we had something that crashed here, he could just fix it. But it's really, really hard to find a guy like that. And if he left the company, where would I go? It would be really hard for me to qualify if the coding and if the solution or the features, extensions I get built were good enough for the platform. So that's one of the biggest issues with Magento. It's really hard to find people who actually can code it. So if we look at when you install a new plugin down here, let's say plugin, and then you get another plugin, but what happens then is like everything crashes and you get the popular 404 page here. Yeah, that sucks. So we have a negative smiley as well. And then you have like the plugin, because those 2 plugins doesn't go together, or it doesn't go into the platform, or they are a different version of the Magento. There can be so many things here that make the Magento webshop crashes, and getting this fixed can be much more expensive than paying the monthly price for Shopify. So I would really recommend that you think about the long-term solution when you build a Magento store. It's really, really good for like high volume e-commerce stores, like really, really huge warehouses, because it's really hard. It's really easy to do something in bulk. It's a little bit harder in Shopify. So if you have a brand, let's say you have maybe up to 100 products, I still recommend Shopify because it's really, really good and it's really drag and drop. So you probably know this from MailChimp and other marketing softwares that you can drag and drop things. And that's also how Shopify works. And it's pretty easy. The backend is really like really futuristic in design, whereas Magento, or the new version of Magento, is a little bit cooler in the backend office, but Shopify is really, really cool and really easy to see where to click and everything else. So I really recommend that also if you want to scale your business, because what I learned from Magento is that if you want to scale something, you have to build everything in processes, because otherwise it's so easy to make it crash. So in my previous company, we worked with a 20,000 products, I think it was, in the end, and we have to create product text for all of those. We have the category text for each category and stuff like that. So you have to build some really, really good processes here, where over here is more like you get to know it, and then you get to know it. Where over here you can make so many mistakes, click different places, and then everything crashes. So really make sure that you think about which platform are good for the long term, instead of just looking at the monthly prices. And also, if we look at Shopify, and actually now I want to delete those. So we don't talk about WooCommerce, we don't talk about PrestaShop, because what I want to suggest to you is like, and this goes also with marketing softwares. You probably heard about a lot of tools you can use for marketing. You have to commit to some tool. You cannot have 10 SEO tools and be good at all of them. Commit to one tool, and when you get to know the tool and you have been working with it for maybe 2 years, I was lucky enough to get working with Moz for 8 years, which is a really good SEO tool. But then you get to learn it, you get to know it, and you know all the features, and you can grow with it. So that's also what happened to me with Google Analytics, because I started working with Google Analytics 10 years ago. So I actually I developed with the features that came along, and I would recommend you to do the same with marketing tools, and also with like e-commerce tools like Shopify, Magento. You don't get to learn anything like 5 minutes. You have to dig into it, you have to get to know it, and also it depends really which industry you're in. And one thing I also would recommend you to do is like, and right now we're actually building a plugin to Amazon. So think about, maybe you want to have like your Shopify shop, but in Europe right now we are looking at Amazon, because in Germany they are huge. So I think they will get into Denmark, Sweden at some point. So you can have your own shop, but also look at, should we connect these two with a plugin, and then we get the orders from Amazon into Shopify, something we are working a lot on at the moment. And also try to commit to one of the platforms. It's really like, it takes a lot of time to get used to it. So you have to make some mistakes, you have to try, and then have some learnings. And that way you can build processes for your team, and then they can take over, and then you have like a process for product creation, for category text and stuff like that, blog posts, etc. And I think that would probably be the way I would do it. So you have to spend at least 1 year before you change the platform. Of course, if you want to change the platform, it's not like as big a deal in the beginning, but just remember, like, it's not the platform that will come with all the magic solutions. You have to actually do some work yourself. I worked with Facebook for 8 years now and spend a lot of money on that platform, and I get to know it and get to know it, so that it's more easy like to navigate in it. And that's the same thing with Shopify, Magento, or any other solution you want to pick. So yeah, make sure that you commit to one software and then try to dig into it and get to know it. And that was everything I had for the e-commerce tools or platforms. And if you want to know anything else, you can just write a comment down below or contact me on social medias. Bye guys.